It wasn't just another summer night, it was the moment everything started to change. The way they looked at each other, the words they didn't say, and the choices they couldn't take back. In episode 7, the calm before the storm finally cracked, and under all the soft laughter and warm lights, hearts were breaking in silence. Episode 7 begins with a strange kind of stillness. Like everyone knows the season is almost over, but no one wants to admit it. The ocean outside is calm, but inside the house, emotions are pulling in opposite directions. Belly moves through the day with that mix of excitement and unease. She's smiling, but it's the kind of smile that hides 1,000 thoughts. She's caught between wanting to hold on to this summer and realizing it's slipping through her fingers. Conrad is quieter than usual, not cold exactly, but thoughtful in a way that makes you wonder what's on his mind. There's a distance in his eyes, like he's already somewhere else, even when he's standing right there. Jeremiah notices it too, but instead of asking, he throws himself into keeping things light. Cracking jokes, making plans, anything to keep the mood from dipping too low. But it's clear he's watching Belly and Conrad closely. Reading the unspoken signals between them, the group gathers for an afternoon by the dock, and it feels almost normal, the sunlight, the chatter, the water shimmering in the background. But if you look closely, you can feel the undercurrent. Every conversation has a weight to it, every glance feels loaded. There are moments where someone starts to say something important, then stops. It's like they all know there are things that need to be said, but no one wants to be the one to break the fragile peace. Later, there's a quiet moment between Belly and Conrad. It's not a dramatic scene, just a casual exchange on the porch. But the way they stand, the way their voices soften, tells you there's more here than they're saying out loud. Belly tries to brush it off, laughing about something small, but Conrad's expression doesn't change. It's as if he's holding back words that could change everything. Meanwhile, Taylor senses the tension and pulls Belly aside, asking if she's okay. Belly insists she is, but her voice betrays her. You can hear the hesitation, the way she draws out her answer, the way her eyes dart toward Conrad before she looks away. Taylor doesn't push, but the concern is clear. She knows her friend too well to believe the smile. The episode keeps weaving these small, loaded moments together, little interactions that seem harmless on the surface but carry emotional weight underneath. The writers don't rush into big arguments or tearful scenes yet. Instead, they let the tension build like a slow tide rising. Every pause, every unfinished sentence, every glance across the room feels like it's pointing toward something bigger coming. By the time the sun sets, the mood has shifted. The laughter is still there, but it's thinner now, stretched over something heavier. Belly sits alone for a while, watching the waves. It's not the kind of loneliness that comes from being without people. It's the loneliness of knowing that something you love is changing, and you can't stop it. The quiet soundtrack in the background makes the scene feel almost bittersweet, like a memory being made and lost at the same time. Episode 7 isn't loud or chaotic, but that's what makes it powerful. It's the in-between moments, the half-smiles, the silences, and the glances that stick with you. The kind of moments you don't notice right away, but later you realize they were the turning points. And by the time the screen fades to black, the next episode won't be the same. Something has shifted, and there's no going back. From the very first frame of episode 7, there are details quietly speaking in the background. The kind of clues you only notice if you're paying attention, and once you do, they change how you see the entire episode. They aren't loud or obvious. They're subtle, tucked into the way a scene is lit, the way someone lingers on a word, or the way a camera slowly drifts toward a seemingly ordinary object. These are the hints that tell you this story isn't just moving forward. It's building toward something. One of the earliest clues appears in a simple breakfast scene. The group sits around the table, passing plates and pouring coffee, but the color palette is different from the earlier, lighter episodes, the soft golds of summer mornings are replaced by muted tones, grays in the background, cooler shades in their clothes. It's the kind of visual change that whispers something is ending. Belly wears a light sweater, even though it's still warm outside, a subtle nod to her pulling inwards. Conrad's shirt is the same deep blue he wore during a tense scene in Season 1, and if you remember that moment, You'll realize the show is quietly linking these 2 points in time. Then there's the dock scene. While the others laugh and mess around, the camera drifts toward the edge, focusing for a beat too long on the water rippling under the sunlight. It's almost hypnotic, but there's something uneasy about it. In past episodes, the dock has been a place of joy, splashing, flirting, carefree days. Here, it feels different, as if the water is reflecting more than just the sun. It's foreshadowing a shift, maybe even a fracture in the group's dynamic. Dialogue, too, is full of layered meaning. Early on, Jeremiah teases Conrad about always being somewhere else, and Conrad smirks but doesn't respond. It sounds like playful banter, but in the silence after the joke, the truth hangs there. Conrad is already drifting, emotionally and mentally. Later, when Belly says, "It's not like last summer," she's speaking about something small, but the tone in her voice carries a heaviness, as if she's talking about everything at once: friendships, love, family, even herself. The writers give us these lines as passing comments, but in the context of what's coming, they're seeds being planted. Objects in the background also tell their own story. On the porch, just before a quiet exchange between Belly and Conrad, a wind chime sways gently, even though there's no breeze. It's a small, almost unnoticeable moment, but it creates an eerie stillness, a reminder that change is in the air, even if you can't feel it yet. Inside the house, a photo frame on the mantel catches the camera's eye. It shows the group from an earlier summer, all laughter and sunburned cheeks. The fact that the shot lingers there for a moment before cutting back to their present-day faces is deliberate. It's the show's way of reminding us how much has changed, and how much more will before this summer is over. Even the choice of music becomes a hidden clue. A background song during an otherwise lighthearted moment features lyrics about the end of a season and letting go. You barely hear the words under the chatter, but they're there, weaving another thread into the episode's tapestry. The series has always been careful with its soundtrack, using it like a diary, if you listen closely. It often tells you what the characters can't say, and then there's the biggest clue of all: the way certain moments are filmed as echoes of earlier scenes. When Belly leans on the porch railing, the camera angle mirrors a shot from season 1, when she stood in almost the exact same position, but with a different boy beside her. The framing is identical, but the space beside her is now occupied by someone else, and that absence says more than words ever could. It's a visual reminder of the choices she's made, the people who've stepped in and out of her life, and the way time has quietly rearranged her world. Episode 7 hides these details in plain sight, trusting the audience to catch them, or to feel them, even if they can't explain why. They're the emotional fingerprints of the episode, building tension without a single raised voice. And when you spot them, you realize that nothing in this story is random. Every shirt color, every camera tilt, every line that trails off into silence is part of a larger plan, leading us toward the moment when all of these hints will finally break into the open. Episode 7 might be filled with small, careful moments, but when the emotions break through, they hit like waves that have been building far out at sea. The beauty of this episode is that it doesn't shout, it doesn't need to. Every high point feels earned, every look and every word carrying the weight of everything left unsaid over the past 2 seasons. The first emotional crest comes in a scene that, on paper, is simple: Belly and Jeremiah in the kitchen late at night. The others have gone to bed, the house is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Jeremiah is leaning against the counter, trying to act casual, but the way he fiddles with the edge of his sleeve gives him away. He starts talking about next summer, road trips, late-night swims, how things will be just like before. His voice is light, but there's a tremor in it. Belly smiles, but it's a sad kind of smile because they both know nothing can be just like before anymore. There's too much history now, too many feelings tangled between them. For a few seconds, neither speaks. The silence stretches, and in that space you can almost hear the unspoken truth. He's not just talking about summer plans. He's talking about her, about them, about holding on to something that's slipping away. Another high point comes with Conrad, and it's one of those moments where his guard drops without him realizing it. He's sitting alone on the porch, sketchbook in hand, watching the waves. Belly comes out, hesitant, like she's not sure if she should interrupt. She makes a comment about the tide, and instead of answering, he looks at her for a long moment before saying softly, "It's going out." It sounds like he's talking about the water, but the way he says it, he means something else. That feeling of loss, of something pulling away no matter how tightly you try to hold it. Belly catches the double meaning, and there's a flicker in her eyes, but she doesn't push. The whole exchange lasts less than a minute, yet it feels like a confession disguised as small talk. The emotional weight isn't only in romance. There's a scene between Stephen and Belly that brings a different kind of ache. They're walking, back from the market, bags in hand, when Stephen tells her she's been quiet lately. She brushes it off, but he stops walking and looks at her, really looks. "You don't have to pretend with me," he says, and for a second her mask slips. Her eyes well up, but she blinks it away and keeps moving. That's the thing about sibling moments in this show. They're not grand or dramatic, but they cut deep because they're rooted in years of knowing each other's truths. It's a reminder that family love is its own kind of complicated, and sometimes it's harder to face than anything else. The biggest emotional blow of the episode comes near the end, during a group scene that should feel happy. They're all gathered outside under string lights, music playing, voices overlapping. On the surface, it's warmth and laughter, the kind of memory they'll treasure. But the camera doesn't stay on the laughter. It drifts, catching small cracks in the facade. Conrad watching Belly from across the table, his expression unreadable. Jeremy smiling too brightly, like he's forcing himself to stay in the moment. Belly laughing at something Taylor says, but her eyes darting toward Conrad for just a split second. These are the micro moments that break your heart because you can feel the ache behind the joy dot, and then, as the music swells, Belly steps away for a moment, standing at the edge of the yard, looking out toward the dark horizon. The sound of the party fades slightly, replaced by the steady crash of waves. The camera lingers on her face, a mix of longing, regret, and fear of what comes next. She's surrounded by people she loves, yet she's never felt more alone. That's when you realize the truth the episode has been quietly building toward. This isn't just about choosing between two brothers or holding on to a summer. It's about the end of something bigger, the loss of the simple, innocent version of themselves they'll never get back. By the time the scene fades, you're left with that hollow, bittersweet feeling, the one that comes when you know a moment is slipping away even as you're living it. Episode 7's emotional high points aren't about shouting or dramatic declarations. They're about the quiet breaking of hearts in slow motion, the kind you don't even notice until it's too late. And that's what makes them unforgettable. Asterisk, by the time episode 7 fades out, it's impossible not to feel the tension coiled beneath every scene. It's not just about what happened, it's about what didn't happen, the words swallowed, the choices avoided, the truths hovering in the air like storm clouds that refuse to burst. That's why, for fans, this episode has become a goldmine of speculation. Every lingering glance, every muted color, every carefully chosen song lyric feels like a breadcrumb, leading us toward the finale, one of the most talked about theories circles back to the dock scene, where the camera spends those extra few seconds on the water. Some viewers believe it's a visual metaphor for relationships in the show, constant motion, sometimes calm, sometimes rough, but always changing. In that moment, the water isn't just scenery, it's a warning. Fans online have been quick to point out that the last time the doc held this much narrative weight was in season 1, before a major emotional shift between Belly and Conrad. Could it be that we're being primed for another turning point, this time with consequences none of them can undo? Another theory builds on the repeated callbacks to past seasons, from Conrad's deep blue shirt to the porch railing shot mirroring Season 1. The show seems to be deliberately drawing parallels between then and now. But what's interesting is how these mirrored moments feel heavier, almost bittersweet. In the past, those same shots carried possibility, lightness, and newness. Now, they're marked by hesitation and loss. Some fans think these echoes are the writer's way of signaling that we've reached the end of an era, that no matter who ends up with whom, This summer will be the last of its kind. And then there's the uncheckable sense that Belly's journey is shifting inward. Sure, the love triangle is still the beating heart of the series, but this episode makes it feel like the real question isn't who will she choose, but who will she become. The quiet porch moment with Conrad, the half smile with Jeremiah in the kitchen, the way she drifts away from the group at the party, all of it points toward a girl, standing at the edge of a choice that goes beyond romance. Some fans believe we might see Belly step away from both boys in the finale, not as a rejection, but as a way to reclaim herself after 2 summers defined by someone else's pull. Of course, the episode also feeds into the deeper emotional currents of the story, the ones that don't make for flashy theories but still cling to you long after the credits roll. Episode 7 is about the quiet endings we rarely notice in the moment. Friendships that start to shift without a fight, love that changes shape instead of breaking cleanly, the ache of realizing you can't go back to the way things were, no matter how much you want to. The emotional takeaway here is as much about the audience as it is about the characters. We've been with them through the bright, dizzy highs of summer and the gut-punch lows. We've rooted for them, argued about them, tried to read between their lines. And now, the show is asking us to feel the discomfort of not having the answers yet, to live in that space where the future is both terrifying and full of possibility. What makes episode 7 so quietly devastating is that it doesn't give us closure. Instead, it hands us 1,000 tiny pieces and trusts us to feel the weight of what they mean when put together. The soft music under a heavy conversation. The glance that lasts 1 second too long. The smile that doesn't reach the eyes. These are the moments that tell you the season's emotional peak is still ahead. But the climb has already begun. As we look toward episode 8, the speculation isn't just about plot twists. It's about emotional consequences. If the hidden clues in this episode are right, then the finale won't simply decide relationships. It will redraw the map of this entire world. And when that happens, the version of these characters we've known since season 1 will be gone, replaced by people shaped by the storms they've weathered, the love they've risked, and the summers they'll never get back. And maybe that's the real hidden message of episode 7. Change doesn't wait for you to be ready. It comes quietly, in glances and half-finished sentences, until one day you realize everything is different. And just like the tide Conrad spoke of, it's already going out whether you're ready to let it go or not.